the studio. I'm Ian Butterfield. I'm just in the process of painting the back wall of the studio, and it's occurred to me that this might be a good time to give a short video tutorial on how to create multiplicity images. Multiplicity images, if you don't know what they are images where you take one person and put them into the scene multiple times. For example, in the scene I'm about to create, I'm going to put myself in here 4 or 5 times. I'm going to be standing on the ladders, painting the wall. I'm going to be standing behind the ladders, holding them for myself. I'll probably put myself in front of the ladders, holding the paint tray. I might be sitting on the box, having a cup of tea, and the final version of me probably standing at one side with a clipboard as a supervisor. So that's the aim. So how do we create a multiplicity image? Well, there are 2 parts to it. And the first part is what we do in camera, and the second part is what we do in Photoshop. For each of the people in the scene, we're going to take an image. We're going to keep the camera on the tripod so that the background remains the same for all of the images. And then afterwards in Photoshop, I'm going to combine them all together. Now, before we can do that, I've got a few basic issues I have to resolve. First of all, how am I going to light the scene? We're in the studio, so we need to think about light. Well, the problem I may have in post-production is a problem of shadows. With combining different parts of the image together, I don't want shadows from me in one image to cut across an area where I'm standing in another image. Easiest solution, try and get rid of the shadows. How do we get rid of shadows? We use generally umbrella lighting, and that will scatter light everywhere. A light bomb is a phrase that at least one friend of mine refers to them as. So I'm going to set up 2 umbrella lights. I'm going to meter the whole scene behind me, and we'll go from there. So, 2 lights. So, we have both lights set up. Let's talk a little bit now about camera settings. We're in the studio using studio lights. That means camera in manual mode. Shutter speed is set to 125th of a second. I'm going to be aiming for an aperture of about f8, which is what I normally use in the studio, and I'm going to trigger the lights using the radio triggers from Yongnuo, the 603 version. The way those work is you have one transceiver sitting on the camera, one sitting on the one of the lights, and then when you take a shot, signal from the camera to the lights go off. There is actually another really nice feature with the Yongnuo triggers that I'm going to use with this shot, with this setup. And that is, you can also use them as remote controls to control the camera. So you might be able to see here, I've got a cable going from the trigger on the camera into the remote socket on the Canon, which means that now I can press the button here, triggers the camera going off then triggers the flash over there. So we've got the lights set up now to adjust them and take some light readings. The area I want to cover are the positions where I'm going to be standing. I'm aiming for about f8 across the whole area. So let's see what we're going to get. There's going to be one version of me standing on the steps. 5.6 and a bit there, so I'm going to push that up a little bit. And that as well. Let's take that reading again. That's f8. Another version of me standing back here would be f8. Sitting down by the box. just under F8, I can live with that sort of fall off there. What about standing here? And that's F8 as well. So that is now F8 for the whole area, which is exactly what we're looking for. So, time to get shooting. Trigger, I've set the camera to self-timer, so once I press the button, I've got 10 seconds to get into place. That's all the shots taken. I'm going to finish my cup of tea, then I'm going to finish the painting. After that, I'll start the PC up, load Photoshop, and show you how we combine all the images together to make one final multiplicity decorating image. Cheers. So that's the painting done. I'm back at the laptop. I'm now going to combine the 5 images that we took earlier into one single multiplicity DIY image. I'm starting off in Bridge for this, and I've got a folder open with all 5 images in it, and I want to open these in Photoshop as separate layers within Photoshop. The easiest way to do that is from Bridge, select all the images. You see, I've got all 5 selected, Tools, Photoshop, and load files as Photoshop layers. Now that's a new feature which arrived with Bridge CS4. So if you're running Bridge CS3 or earlier, then it won't actually be there. But from 4 or 5, it does exist. So load into Photoshop. Photoshop starts up. Now it does take a little while for the photos to load, so we'll fast forward on the video to the point when they are actually all loaded in. And much to my surprise, we don't need to fast forward, they have actually all loaded straight away. Amazing. Right, to get the images merged together, we're going to use layer masks. Now we've got all 5 layers, as you can see here, all 5 images in separate layers here, and I can look at each one in turn if I want by just Alt and clicking on the icon, and that shows just the one layer in turn. Now notice this layer at the bottom. This is going to be the background layer, but it's also the one with me sitting on the tool chest. Notice the various tools which are lying around down at the bottom here. The reason why we need to note that is we don't want them there in the final image, which means I need to mask those in with one of the other photos, and I'll show you that in a moment when we come to put the version of me in that's standing behind the ladders. So, let's enable all the images again. On the top layer, put in a layer mask and select the layer mask. Check that our foreground pen is set to black. We want a brush from here, and the size of brush we want, if I right click, I'd say probably about 300 will do for this one. We'll start with something like that. Now I'm also going to maximise the image on in the work area by pressing Control and 0, and that just zooms it out, makes it a little bit easier to work with. I can now, with my brush, just paint over myself on the layer mask, and that reveals the layer below. And we just go all the way around. Now there's going to be one sort of little problem area with this, and that is near my hand, because my hand in this version is very close to my hand on the layer below. So I can remove most of it. I'm now going to zoom in to that section, and I just want to get rid of the hand. So I'm going to make the brush a little bit smaller. I'm using the left square bracket key to make it quite small, and I just want to get rid of the hand like so. Now it does bring in just a little bit of the layer below where I'm standing there, but so long as I've got rid of me on this layer, it's all going to work fine. So zoom that back out again with Control 0. We now, having got rid of me, we want to bring me back, and the way we do that is we're going to invert the mask, and the easiest way to invert the mask is Control and I. So that's brought me back in, and the layer below back in there. So now, working on the layer below, we want to do the same process again. So put in a layer mask. I'm going to start this time on that problem hand area where things are very close, just to make sure the only thing I'm erasing is this layer on the mask. So put the hand there, and around there. So that's the hand gone. I can now Control 0, back out, use the right arrow key to get a larger brush, and I can sort of get rid of me all in one go. Now, I mentioned about the tools which were down here. Now I want this bit of this layer to show through around this area, so I'm going to just make sure I paint that entire area around there with the mask. And you can see on the mask here that it's all coming in. So I just want to make sure that entire area is coming from this layer. So what we're doing, the areas we paint over, we are effectively saying we want that to come from the layer we're working on. So I've got rid of all that. So now Control I to invert the layer brings the next version of me in. So again, we put a layer mask on, and I delete me. Gone. Control I brings back the next person. The layer mask on there. Now I'm going to have to be careful near where I was sitting, but we should be okay for most of this, just to be able to paint over around there. And in fact, the fact that I'm showing through down there shouldn't be a problem. Control I. We have a little bit of fogginess around there. Now, the way we can solve that is on this layer, where you've got bits that you have inadvertently put in that you don't want, you can use now we've inverted the layer, we can paint back those sections. So I'm going to zoom in so I can see which bits I'm working on. I'm going to make a smaller brush, again, left bracket key. I'm still set to black, which is what I need to paint in, and I can just gently come round here all the way back in as I need to be for this one. And Control 0 to bring out the full image, and there we have it, one completed multiplicity DIY image. Thanks for watching this video cast from In Studio. Stay tuned for future videos. Bye bye.
This has been an in-studio video presentation by Ian M. Butterfield. All content and photographs are copyright Ian M. Butterfield and may not be reproduced without prior permission. For more information, including how to subscribe to this and other videos, please visit www.ians-studio.co.uk/videos. Thank you.